codependency, eating disorders, or any addiction, we'd like to hear from you. Here's the phone number, 457-9952. Jann will be taking your phone calls in just a moment at 457-9952. Good evening, everybody. This is Jann Scott, and welcome to the Saturday night edition of Addiction Free Radio. Tonight, we're going to be talking with two members of Project SAFE, George Burke, the Assistant Director, and Steve Kester, the Director of Project SAFE. We're going to be talking about AIDS and intravenous drug use and a situation that's developed here in Colorado and a way to prevent it. Now, for those of you who just tuned in to Addiction Free Radio for the first time, this is a talk show. It's a call-in talk show. You're welcome to participate here at area code 303-457-9952 is the talk number, 457-9952. We'll take your questions or your calls about, actually tonight about heroin addiction, street junkies, prostitutes, safe sex, all that kind of stuff. What you think about it and what you think we ought to be doing. We've got a couple of experts in here tonight. We're going to talk about Denver being a target area. Also now, Addiction Free Radio is the only program like this any place in the country. We talk about drug addiction, alcoholism, eating disorders, all different forms of addiction. Let's see, what else do we talk about here? Well, we talk about it all. Tomorrow night we're going to be talking about exercise addiction. We're going to be talking about bulimia, eating disorders, codependency. Last week we had Dan Mason on. We talked about healthy love versus a sacrificial love. And we had a great many callers. So tonight, again, we really need your calls and your participation. And I really encourage you, as you listen to this program tonight, that you call us from wherever you are. And, give us a call and participate. Is this heroin addiction and AIDS and prostitution is something that really affects all of us. We also have listeners. We're at 5,000 watts right now. You can hear us in Montana, Washington State, Nebraska, Wyoming, up in Calgary, Canada. We've had callers from there. We've had callers all up and down the Front Range. So 457-9952 is the call-in number. Let me share a few things with you, okay, about Project SAFE. The IV AIDS Project, it's under the direction of the Addiction Research and Treatment Services of the University of Colorado. On the street, the project is known as Project SAFE. And they say here our message will be simple and straightforward. Practice safe sex and safer drug-using behavior. We are cognizant of the facts that to be truly safe, a drug user should quit using drugs, but pragmatic enough to know all will not, and that many treatment facilities are already at capacity. Therefore, our message will be aimed at lessening risk. We will inform users not to share their needles, and that if they do, they should first clean them with bleach. Our research workers will be passing out small bottles of bleach with directions written in Spanish and English. Outreach staff will also be giving out condoms with the direction of proper use. Now this is going on here in Denver. Let's see. On the east side, okay, the community outreach. This is going on in 5 Points and adjacent neighborhoods. So if you live in these parts of town, listen up. We're talking about your neighborhood. On the east side, okay, Project SAFE here says, our project will focus on 5 Points and adjacent neighborhoods. We will have 2 community outreach workers who are recovering addicts working in these neighborhoods. Together, they should be able to reach a large segment of the IV or intravenous drug population on the east side of town. Their primary responsibility is to explain why IV or why intravenous drug users and their sexual partners are at high risk for for contracting the AIDS virus and what members of that community can do to reduce risk. They will be advocating education and prevention techniques. They will not try to encourage, get this, okay, they will not try to encourage users to stop using drugs. This is what they say. We'll find out more about that when we talk with George and Steve. It is our belief that this is a separate message than the one we are trying to communicate, and we do not want to confuse the two. Most drug users have been warned repeatedly about the dangers of addiction. We simply want to warn them about the dangers of AIDS and what they will do to alleviate it. It is our belief that we will be more successful in reaching members of the IV drug community with this approach. At the same time, however, outreach workers will be prepared when asked by users to refer them to other agencies or programs designed to deal with their drug, health, and social problems. As of March 1st, which was a month ago, one of the outreach workers has been hired on the east side. His name is Bill Bass. Okay. Project Safe. We have sitting here in the studio with us right now, we have George Burke, one person of the team, and we'll talk with George in we'll talk with George right now. Actually, so welcome to the show, George.
Thanks, Jim.
I'm glad you're here. George is suffering from back problems tonight. I have allergies. My nose feels like it's ready to blow off my face. My mouth feels like the entire Soviet army marched through it on its way to, I don't know, out of Afghanistan, if they're really going to leave there. I wonder about that one. But we won't get into Afghanistan tonight. 457-9952 is the call-in number. Welcome, George. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, Jan.
Do you have any comments just off the cuff out of the stuff I was reading?
No, since I was partly responsible for the writing of that. I mean, that's something that basically we're trying to do right now. We're a brand new project. We have all of the outreach staff. I want to say that we're more in. We have two individuals on the east side, which is the 5 Points and surrounding neighborhoods, two in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, one in lower downtown Curtis Park, Larimer, Curtis Park area, and one on the northwest side.
So how many outreach workers do you have?
Right, we have 7 right now.
Well, okay, now what in the heck, will you tell me, because I just read this and it's like kind of bounced off, and I'm sure those folks listening, what in the heck is it that you guys are doing out there?
Basically what we're trying to do is we know that individuals who are at high risk for the HIV infection, which is the AIDS virus, we'll call it that, in New York, the IV population, 80% of all those individuals are contaminated right now with the infection. In Colorado, our numbers are not as drastic. Approximately 16% of all AIDS cases are IV users. Out of those, 4% are heterosexual, 12% are gay or bisexual males. And what we're trying to do is not see the drastic increase in the numbers of people who become infected. And we're trying to contain the disease.
So this is, now Denver is one of the cities that's targeted. So, I mean, could you explain to us how this whole project came about? I mean, what's the deal here? Is this a government thing, or what is it?
Dr. Wayne Weibel, who is part of the University of Illinois, Chicago, wrote a grant that was funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse to show that this type of work can help deter the increase of the disease in the IV population. The IV drug users and sexual partners are at the greatest risk right now. That's where we're seeing.
How many cities is this project
going
in?
This project is in 4 cities: Chicago, Baltimore, El Paso, and Denver.
And these are deemed to be high risk places. Lots of IV users in these 4 cities.
Estimated 7,000 to 10,000 IV users in the metro area.
In Denver?
In Denver.
So Denver has an IV drug use problem.
Yes.
I mean, in the United States, it's got one of the bigger problems.
It is considered high. Yeah.
I'm amazed. I never knew that. I mean, I always thought we were a pot-smoking, coke-tooting,
Yeah.
Two-fisted drinking community.
Right.
We've got full.
Well, we hide it well, don't we?
I guess they hide it well. So no, we hide it well. You're listening to Addiction Free Radio with Jann Scott here on 76 KJIM, coming to you out of Denver, Colorado. The call-in number is 457-9952. If you have any comments about AIDS or giving condoms to prostitutes or safe sex or intravenous drug use, maybe you are in recovery yourself. If you are a former heroin addict or prostitute, we want to hear from you on this program. We want to hear about your recovery. All right, we want you to participate. We only have 45 minutes left. Oftentimes you guys call in late. Call in soon, okay, because we get everybody, we get the phone, the boards filled, at quarter of, and we can't get everyone on the air. 457-9952. We'll be back with the folks from Project Safe after this.
Hello, this is Walter Cronkite, and I'd like to talk to you for a minute, especially if you're a parent of teenage children. Actually, I'm going to ask you to have a very difficult talk with your kids. No, I don't mean about teenage sex. For a lot of us, that would be easy compared with what I'm talking about. I mean drugs. I mean cocaine. I mean crack. Hard as it may be to talk about drugs with your kids, it should be unthinkable for you not to. After all, everyone knows it's a national problem, so your kids know that you know it, too. If you don't talk about it with them, if you don't fight it with them, your kids have every right to think you don't care. In fact, if you say nothing, it's practically like telling them it's okay. The idea of your kids using cocaine or crack ought to scare you to death. So, hard as it may be, you've got to learn about it, and you've got to talk about it.
This message brought to you by Communities for a Drug-Free Colorado.
Carrosserie Auto Body has master craftsmen with over 20 years' experience to do body work on your auto. Carrosserie does frames, suspension, and body repair, painting and color matches to perfection on foreign or domestic automobiles. That's Carrosserie, spelled K-A-R-O-S-S-E-R-I-E, at 7183 Arapahoe Avenue in Boulder. Call them at 443-0298. That's 443-0298.
This is Jann Scott. You're listening to Addiction Free Radio. I have with me as my guests tonight George Burke and Steve Kester, who is the director of Project Safe. Right.
Yeah, I'm the research director of Project Safe.
Research director. Just walked into the studio. Welcome, Steve. Glad to have you here. Is there anything that you heard I was talking about that you wanted to comment on right away to tell our listeners?
Actually, no. I thought that George handled it pretty well. And I liked what you read from our overview, and that's exactly what we're all about.
Okay. Now there is, and I don't want to get into the controversy of this, but there is. Are you guys advocating premarital sex? That question's got to
No,
come
we're
up,
not
so I wanna
advocating
know.
premarital sex. What we're saying is that people who choose to participate in sexual situations, that there are certain types of situations that are in individuals at high risk to contact the HIV virus or the AIDS virus. And we are trying to do some risk reduction counseling with them and to encourage the use of condoms if they choose to participate in that type of sex.
I mean, some people might say that you would almost be condoning prostitutes on our streets or intravenous drug users by having this, kind of a project. I don't know what. We're bound to get a phone call like
Right.
that, so we might as well take it from me. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't believe we're condoning prostitution. I think we're just recognizing, I think we're very reality oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And that we're saying, yes, prostitution is an issue inside this metro area, and that they are a high risk population, and that we wish to engage them in teaching risk reduction. And if they choose to no longer be a prostitute, at least they will have contact with somebody who knows where to refer them.
Well, do you advocate prostitution?
No, we don't advocate prostitution or drug addiction.
Okay, that's my next question. You advocate that people should be heroin addicts or whatever?
I don't encourage anyone to be a heroin addict. It's not a fun life. What we do encourage, though, are that individuals who do have the disease of addiction and are currently using, that there are certain precautions they can take in order not to contract the HIV virus.
Okay, well, how about this? Now, I mean, you're going to go out, and you guys are out on the streets, as I get it, and you have outreach people out there. What do these outreach people do?
What those outreach people do?
Yeah, what do they do? Talk right into the microphone.
Okay. The outreach workers, their job is really, since they are recovering addicts themselves, our idea is that they have, they're very close to the community that we want to reach. They know the community intimately. They've been members of that community, and their job is really, they are the AIDS awareness educators, excuse me. They're the people who are out there trying to reach people who are still actively shooting dope, prostitutes on the street, and they're trying to tell them, hey, look, you know, this is what AIDS can do to you. This is what AIDS is all about, and we want you to know about it. And from there, if people become really interested, they'll do what we call an individual risk reduction. And what they do there is they talk to that individual, that person who's shooting methamphetamine or the prostitute, and describes to them just how AIDS works and what kind of behavior they're engaging in, which puts them at high risk. And that's really their job. It's really an AIDS education project.
Well, I mean, it's to me, and I may be wrong, but I mean, you're going out and you're talking to people who are high, and you're going up to them and say, hey, look, you know, well, what's the story on bleach? What can you explain that to me?
Sure. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, what is it? I mean, so we know. I mean, and I'm asking these questions for our listeners too. Call in here, 457-9952. If you have any questions for Steve or George from Project Safe, they're out on our streets tonight telling people about AIDS and intravenous drug use and how we can kill one another off as a society, you know, through spreading it through prostitution. Just call us here, 457-9952. Yeah, go ahead, George. Tell us.
The AIDS virus is spread of one of two ways, either direct exchange of bodily fluids, semen, or direct exchange of blood products. One of the problems when an individual uses the same needle as another addict is that there is always blood left inside the needle. Mm-hmm. And so if that individual is HIV positive, with that exchange of needle, that next individual can become HIV positive, and then the virus can be passed on through the semen or bodily fluids to another individual. What bleach will do, it will kill the virus upon contact within a matter of seconds. And we're asking addicts to incorporate bleach as part of their ritual instead of using just water, which does nothing for the HIV virus, to pull up into their syringe bleach, flush it out, then use water, and that will prevent either the spread or getting the disease.
Oh, so you use water and bleach right then. What do you have, like little packets of bleach you give the guys?
We have small bottles of bleach that have directions, and they're written in English and Spanish.
What's going to keep somebody from shooting bleach by mistake in a shooting gallery if they're really high?
That's a good question. Part of that is the outreach worker, and not encouraging bleach to be put into their veins.
This is a pretty radical program, isn't it?
Very radical.
I mean, this is very radical.
Yes.
We're talking radical here.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I want you folks to know, before George came on and Steve came on, I talked to them at their office, and there was something on Channel 4 News or one of the channel, and they really have been shunning media. They really, don't want to just have a lot of media attention around this because of the fact that the program is so radical, and this is a desperate approach to helping to solve our AIDS epidemic in this country, and it's something that needs to be tried at least. And I want to tell you, I really appreciate you guys coming on Addiction Free Radio and talking about this, because I realize it's a risky business.
It is a risky business, I suppose. Pardon me. In New York, they've actually tried now on a very limited scale. They're doing what they call a needle exchange, where they're giving addicts on the street clean needles in exchange for their used ones. And we're certainly not going to go that far. There really isn't that need in Colorado, first of all, because in the state of Colorado, needles are not illegal to purchase, but they are in New York and also in California. But we're dealing with an even more radical disease.
Would it be better if they were illegal so that they could have fresh needles all the time?
I think it would probably be best if addicts could probably buy needles without any kind of repercussions, or if they felt that they could go into any pharmacy and get them. I really think that at this point we're dealing with a disease that humankind has never seen before. It's the more that George and I hear about it, the more frightening it is.
Some people say we've heard of something like this before called the Black Plague a few centuries back that took out half of Europe.
That's minimal compared to what's happening here in the United States. Right now we have over 51,000 cases of AIDS, active AIDS, and it's estimated that there are 100 to 1. For every AIDS case, there's 100 cases of HIV positive. So we're talking 500,000 to 3 million individuals who are HIV positive right now that will eventually move into AIDS.
Who are affected right now.
Who are affected and could be spreading the disease onto other individuals. This is such a hideous disease. I mean, there are no symptoms for a number of years.
We're really in denial about this, aren't we? I mean, our whole population is in denial about this.
Yeah, we certainly. I don't think the whole population fully understands the extent of this epidemic and what's really happening throughout the United States and the world.
And what's going to be happening.
It's going to keep on coming.
I have another question for you. I mean, you're going out onto the street, talking to people that are high, that are heroin addicts or methamphetamine addicts, trying to get them to use bleach. And I mean, you really think that that's going to work? I mean, does it penetrate?
So far, it's working. I don't believe that addicts want to die of AIDS. I don't think anyone really wants to die of AIDS. And I think addicts are conscious enough to want to live.
Well, my other question is why aren't you carrying the message of recovery out there and say, hey, look, you see somebody, you want to get off dope, this stuff's killing you, let me help you out. Because I don't know of any outreach groups, including the Christian church, and we have a lot of Christian listeners that listen to this show that are out on the street day after day talking to dope addicts saying, come on in, you can, get off of this stuff, we can help you out. I mean, as far as I know, your group is the first that's doing that, but you're telling people, say, here's some condoms and here's some bleach, don't die of AIDS. I mean, why aren't you doing another outreach?
Okay, let me just try to clarify a couple things, Jan. First of all, I think that our premise is that we are not a drug treatment facility. We are really an AIDS education and research project. But the people who are working for us are all recovering addicts. They're obviously very, very concerned about addiction, and they don't like to see people addicted to drugs. And our message is really that there have been a lot of very qualified people dealing with drug addiction for a long time, and yet drug addiction still exists. I mean, we've been dealing with it since the turn of the century.
We haven't had any
billions of dollars into it.
We haven't had any people on the street. You guys are on the street. I mean, there are people sitting back in their counseling offices or wherever, but they're not out on the street. I mean, I know this because I'm on the street every single day talking to dope addicts.
Okay, well, our message really is the best way to avoid AIDS is to not shoot dope.
Okay.
And and I mean, I suppose if you want to go a little bit further, the best way to avoid AIDS, if it's through sexual contact, is to be celibate. But that's not. But our message is really, if you're going to continue this activity, we're going to, first of all, we are willing to refer people. I mean, we're connected with addiction treatment services of the university, so we're tied directly into treatment facilities. But our message really is to try to reach those people who may not want to quit shooting dope, or they don't want to now, and we can't afford to wait.
How about the person that says, why bother? Why don't we just take all the prostitutes and junkies out in 5 Points and Colfax or wherever, load them up in a bus, and, do it nicely, but essentially put them against the wall and shoot them? Why don't we quarantine all the AIDS and AIDS-infected people before they spread it throughout the entire population and kill us all? I mean, aren't we going to come up against that sooner or later? I mean, isn't this going to become a reality? Aren't we going to have to deal with fascist politics around AIDS? I mean,
I don't think it'll ever become a reality. I'm sure it's discussed. I mean, we've heard of some of the federal government at this point, encouraging that all people who are HIV positive move to an island off of Hawaii and free location via the federal government.
Somebody suggested that?
Yeah, Ronald Reagan's the speechwriter. Suggested that already.
Well, we have had, and we still do. We've had leper colonies in the past. We've had lots of, I mean, is this, you were mentioning this, George. You were saying something about maybe we may have 3 million people in this country affected. I mean, are we headed toward that? Are we going to be...
We will have 3 million individuals affected by this disease, and probably some more within the next 5 years. We are talking a large number here.
Well, I can tell you one reason why I think those kind of fascist ideas really would backfire too. Would be the idea simply that probably the most organized group in America in terms of AIDS, and the community that's probably done more in fighting this disease, and more really probably in terms of community outreach, in terms of AIDS awareness, has really been the gay community, and they're a high-risk group for the virus. But yet, those people are the people who are probably who know the most or the most astute about it.
Who are the highest risk? What are the high-risk groups?
Gay and bisexual males, IV drug users, prostitutes, and their sexual partners.
I saw something here about blacks too. Is this a black problem too or not?
Unfortunately, the largest percentage of individuals, of ethnic populations who are susceptible are black.
303-457-9952. We're talking with George Burke and Stephen Kester from the AIDS Project, which is going down right now on the east side in the 5 Points area. We're talking about, well, let's talk about that. Handing out condoms to prostitutes. What's the story there? I mean, you have former prostitutes going out, handing out condoms to how does it go down? What happens? I mean, what is it like on the street? Have you had some encounters with people? What are you doing out there?
Okay, well, first of all, our outreach workers are former addicts. I don't think any of our outreach workers are former prostitutes.
Okay.
They're pretty well aware of that community, however. But the idea is that the working women on the street happen to
and men
exactly.
Gay homosexual
right,
prostitutes.
Right.
Okay.
They may be one of the most significant groups in terms of spreading the virus, and they may not have the virus themselves, but they might very easily catch it. And so it's very clear to us that we have to reach that community. And so handing out condoms to the women on the street is really a good way of saying, look, practice safer sexual practices.
So what does he do? Does an addict kind of spot someone he thinks is a prostitute, and what does he do?
They will engage them just in a regular old conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, how you doing? How's the work tonight? What's going on? Blah, blah,
Don't
blah.
the hookers say, hey, take a hike, get out of here?
No, because it's the first time that somebody has come to them and said, look, we don't want you to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We are concerned about your health, and this is what we'd like to give you. We are asking you to just use this because we're concerned. We don't want you to get the HIV virus. And the prostitutes are more receptive than you would think. And to give them free condoms to use for their customers so that they do not either get it or give it.
Isn't it dangerous? I mean, don't the Johns get in the way? Not the Johns, but their pimps get in the way. I mean, is it dangerous for the people, for your guys on the street?
It could be. Yeah.
Now, you two are out doing. You're also on the street, right? I mean, you're talking to people. You're doing
right.
what are you doing? Are you asking them questions, or
We're doing the research part of this project. We're doing what anthropologists call ethnography, which is really a description of the culture that we're dealing with. And really the premise there is that we really can't be effective in terms of community outreach unless we understand the community that we're working with, unless we understand the people we're trying to reach. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to see things the way they see things.
are you out at night? I mean, is this a nighttime?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, after this radio program, we're going out.
You are?
Yes.
And you're going out into one of the neighborhoods. What are you going to do?
Right. I'm going to go down on South Broadway,
Mhm.
and I'm going to go to some gay bars and work with people there.
Get out and talk to some of the guys.
Right.
457-9952 is the call-in phone number for Addiction-Free Radio. This is Jann Scott. We're talking with George Burke and Steve Kessler from Project Safe. So you're going to go into what are you going to say to the guys when you go into the bar?
I don't know. Actually, I'm going to go in and work with two of our community outreach workers. I'm really going to take the lead from them. They want to introduce me to some people. who may be good contacts for me to talk to later. And this is a really good opportunity to meet them, to kind of see where people, basically what I'm going to do tonight, I think, is really see how that community operates, what their bar scene is all about, what kind of behavior goes down in the bar scene, which really contributes to that.
Are there any other outreach workers on the street? I mean, I know you guys are doing Project Safe.
There are a few other outreach workers. There's called the Colfax Project, which is primarily concerned with the adolescents. There is called the Empowerment Program, which has some informal outreach dealing primarily with the prostitutes.
What do they just go up and talk to them? And
yeah, and people or prostitutes coming out of jail, they will help get them in some type of training program and teach them, certain skills, assert them the skills, or help them therapeutically deal with maybe some incest issues. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No. There are outreach projects working with runaways too.
Yeah.
There are on the street. People
in
on
Capitol
the street.
Hill.
Yes.
Yeah.
On Capitol Hill.
And CAP, Colorado AIDS Project, has a couple of outreach workers who have been working the gay bars and handing out condoms for the past few years.
457-9952. What do you think of this? Do you have any thoughts on this? We need you to participate in this program tonight. I just really encourage you to call in if you have any thoughts or any questions for either George or Steve. If you agree with what's being said here or if you disagree with it. I encourage you to call in and participate here on Addiction Free Radio. We'll be back right after this break.
Are you addicted to exercise? Maybe you tore your knees up in a marathon or broke a leg on the last ski run for the spring. Exercise bulimia affects a lot of athletic young women in the United States, and this will be the topic of Addiction Free Radio this Sunday night at 7 o'clock, when Jann's guest will be experts Nancy Vandermark and world-famous Dr. William Rader. Tune in to 76 AM to learn about exercise bulimia on Addiction Free Radio, brought to you by Mercy Medical Center, right here on KJIM.
Have you been in recovery for a while and you're still uncertain about your relationship with God? I'd like to invite you to the Rocky Mountain Christian Fellowship this Sunday morning at 9:30 at 4th and Dewey in Boulder. Rocky Mountain Christian Fellowship at 4th and Dewey in Boulder.
You're with Jann Scott here on Addiction Free Radio. Okay, we want to know here. George asked you, says, so you're going out tonight. What's the story? Tell us. What do you get? What's going to happen?
Tonight I'm going to go meet a couple of our community outreach workers at a bar on South Broadway in Denver, and
what do they call it? The what? Oh, you can't.
Well,
say
I'd rather really not say the name of
okay,
the place,
fine.
but
yeah.
But it's a bar. It's what I suppose we would call a gay slam bar, and that really means that these are people who are probably the most high-risk group. These are not only gay men, but they're also
What's a slam bar?
IV drug users.
Slam dancing?
No,
shooting dope.
No, a bar where people are shooting dope. And my outreach workers have suggested I meet some of the bartenders, a drag queen who's been very receptive to our program.
Drag queen who's also a prostitute?
And
IV user?
Possibly, yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to meet these people, spend some time with them, and hopefully get to know them a little bit.
Okay, Eric from Denver, you're on Addiction Free Radio. Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a brief comment. What I see you're doing, I think, is good. However, my curiosity is, what happens after once you deal with these people? Are we pushing for them to quit using drugs? Or are we pushing for them just to use it safely? My problem with it is, why aren't we pushing towards trying to get them off drugs? And instead of, I see to practice safer sex, to be cautious when using needles, but what are we doing beyond that point? Are we pushing them to get them in some good organizations, to get them off drugs, to get them out of having sex, which isn't, in my view, right?
Oh, good question, Eric.
Part of the whole outreach approach is to encourage individuals to change their behavior. Our outreach individuals are taught that if someone wants to change, at least have the referrals available to either walk them there or know what's in the neighborhood and take them to it. I have yet to meet anybody who truly quit using as a result of somebody telling them they shouldn't do that. It has to come from an internal process. You know, the outreach individuals are capable of at least listening without judgment and making referrals.
What kind of
to appropriate
referrals do they
places.
make? Where do they refer
We
to?
will take people anywhere from somebody who's been incested or is currently being incested, battered,
Where will you
using
take
drugs.
Where you take them?
We
An
will
AA
take them-
meeting or NA
No,
meeting
we-
or take them to hospital? or what?
We will take them to the appropriate agency that's inside their neighborhood and walk them through it, or we will take them outside of the neighborhood. Any place that we need to. Our outreach workers are willing to do what's necessary in order to get this individual to some primary health care organization.
Is that
I
in?
see. Another quick question. Do you refer them to any Christian type organizations, or is it basically organizations which deal with just the specifics of drug addiction and those types of things?
We will listen to their needs, and we'll have them, explain to us how what has worked for them or what they think will work, and we will take them to any agency that or organization that will meet their needs at that point. We don't push one thing or the other.
I see. I think that's very effective in that you take that neutral standpoint, but it's my belief that it's a direct cause of sin, and sin is sin, whether somebody is out talking behind somebody's back, gossiping, or somebody's using a needle. I just think the consequences for drug addiction and these things are what is plaguing us at this stage. But my prayers go out to people who are suffering from these type of things, and even though it's a radical thing, I very much approve, and I hope that you will push these people towards some Christian outreach programs.
Well, we're glad you appreciate our project, and thanks a lot, Eric.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. That was a good call. Appreciate you calling, Guy.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Well, interesting, one thing that strikes me is that I notice on the street that the Christian community is hardly out there at all. I don't see the groups out there. I mean, they may be. I'm on the Boulder Mall a lot. I never see them talking to the winos and junkies there. And I hear this a lot sometimes at the churches that I go to, and they say, well, you have to get out there and do this, carry this message in such and such a way. And I don't know, maybe there are some Christians who are out there listening that are involved in some of the outreach programs. I sure don't know of any. I mean, I know there's Salvation Army. I know they're out there, and they've been around a long time. But for the amount of, I don't know. I don't want to get into that issue. But I got something to read here. I mean, we'll get even more controversial. AIDS is striking people of color. It is not limited to gay white men. In fact, 2 out of 5 Americans with AIDS are black, Latino, Asian, American, Indian, and other people of color. Among women, half are black, 1 in 5 are Latina. More than 4 out of 5 U.S. children with AIDS are from people of color. What is AIDS? We might get this one out. AIDS is a disease that attacks the body's ability to fight off some illnesses. It is caused by a virus, germ, spread by sexual contact or sharing needles when shooting drugs. Half the people who have AIDS have died. There is no cure for AIDS. Prevention is the only way of stopping this disease. People can be affected with AIDS virus and look healthy. However, they can pass the virus on to another without either person knowing it. It is difficult to know who is infected. We urge everyone to take simple precautions listed below to protect yourself. This is not from Project AIDS. I don't even know where this is from, but it's so far out I thought I'd read it. It says, you can get AIDS from someone who is infected with the AIDS virus. Okay? And these are the ways you can get it, according to this survey. If you have intercourse without a rubber, if you have mouth-to-rectum contact or fist-and-rectum contact, if you use someone else's sex toy, such as a vibrator or a dildo, you can get AIDS. If you swallow urine or semen or feces, or allow them in your mouth, you can get AIDS that way. If you have received contaminated blood from a blood transfusion from between 1979 and 1985, if you shoot up drugs with someone else's works, rig, or tool, if you have sex and take inside yourself the blood or semen from someone who does the things listed above, you can get AIDS. It may be possible to get AIDS from someone affected with the AIDS virus. This is a possibility. The others are certainties. This is a possibility. If you have anal or vaginal intercourse with a condom, having a condom break during intercourse, if you have oral sex and stop before your partner comes, if you French kiss someone with AIDS, it is possible that you can get it. Do you agree or disagree here, George?
There's a continuum of low to high risk behavior, low to no risk. Deep French kissing with someone who is HIV positive and you have a cut in your mouth, it's possible, but it's considered a low risk.
457-9952 is the call-in number. We're talking about Project Safe tonight, handing out condoms to prostitutes, bleach to junkies. You cannot get AIDS from shaking hands, hugging, social kissing, crying, sneezing, coughing. You can't get it from swimming pools, hot tubs, restaurants, elevators, or the air.
Let me say something, Jan. I think one of the things that all of us who are connected with various AIDS projects are concerned about is the hysteria.
Okay.
That goes along with it. And the things you just read are really important because, and as George indicated, there are the risk factors go from high to low. Behavior varies. Certainly, you can hug someone who has AIDS, you're not going to get AIDS. You can shake hands with that person, you can be around that person. Studies from people who have lived with a family member who has AIDS and have had to clean up after them because as you get increasingly sick, you vomit, etc. They don't get AIDS. Go ahead.
We have this little kid, okay, and please allow me to interrupt you guys sometimes because we're limited with time. We have this little kid here that they won't let go to school. There's one kid now, okay? I mean, can you see that escalating into mass hysteria around people who have AIDS?
First of all, I have to say it's very sad that this child is discriminated against.
Isn't it more of that to come?
Unfortunately, we already have it. Part of the problem, is that if an insurance company finds out you have AIDS, they have the right to drop you at that point. Employers sometimes fire people as a result of having this disease. We have discrimination. As Steve was saying, our hope, for those of us who work around this, is to prevent some hysteria. To say, that the HIV virus lives in a very specific cell inside the blood system. Period. And and yes, if you exhibit high-risk behaviors, yes, it's likely that you will contract this, but it's very difficult if you don't engage in high-risk behaviors. Very difficult.
Let me, I want to share some of the symptoms, okay? Since we're talking about this, we might as well get right to it. Some of the symptoms include being very tired for a long time for no reason, fevers, shaking, chills, cold nights, sweats for no reason, weight loss of more than 10 pounds in 1 month for no reason, swollen glands in your armpits or under your chin between your legs for more than 2 months, frequent diarrhea, frequent white spots or uncommon mouth sores, frequent dry cough without having a cold or the flu, especially if you have trouble catching your breath, pink, purple, and brown spots or bumps that are darker in color than skin surrounding these spots. On persons with darker skin color, the spots again will be darker than normal skin color. These spots can be on or under the skin or inside the mouth, nose, eyelids, or rectum. These bumps and spots look like skin bruises. They do not heal, do not go away, and are often harder than the skin around them.
Let me talk about that for a minute. I mean, because what you've just given are symptoms for ARC or AIDS, and ARC is age-related complex, and AIDS is acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. There's a process that one goes through for many years before those symptoms even occur. When a person is infected, they will show symptoms anywhere from 2 weeks to 10 months later, and those symptoms will only last for a couple of weeks. Then they become asymptomatic, which can last anywhere from 1 year up to 8 years. And at that point, they might go into ARC, or they might stay asymptomatic. We don't know. We haven't studied this disease long enough. So we're talking about there's a whole pool of individuals who are HIV positive and don't even know it.
I just want to share one thing here. When we come back, I would like to hear from both of you guys what you think we should be doing in this country right now on the educational level totally. If President Reagan said, you know, George and Steve, I'm going to give you the ball of wax, go for it. I want to know what you do when we come back after this break.
KJIM, the spirit of 76. You can talk with Jann in just a moment at area code 303-457-9952. Addiction-Free Radio is the only regularly scheduled radio talk show in the United States that we know of, broadcasting information for those suffering from an addiction. We're now taking phone calls at area code 303-457-9952. Take that important first step for your own well-being. It's absolutely free. Let us help at area code 303-457-9952. Right now, I'd like to tell you about Indy Honda. They specialize in servicing and repairing Honda cars. Indy Honda will thoroughly check out your Honda car, tell you what needs to be done from the most important to the smallest detail, and you'll know your price options before any work is done. You'll be guaranteed expertise, integrity, and experience with your Honda car. They're located at Foothills Highway and Pearl, next to the Hyundai dealer in Boulder. Call Indy Honda at 442-8486.
This is Jann Scott. You're listening to Addiction Free Radio. We're talking about intravenous drug use, giving condoms to prostitutes. Well, we talked about that a little bit. Okay, today on the European report on the Public Broadcasting Network, says in Bonn, Germany, the school systems have all started to teach courses on age education. Actual courses at age 13. When you go to school in West Germany, they have a course on AIDS that you attend. Okay? There are AIDS rock videos in German television. There's TV specials, primetime TV specials demonstrating how to use a condom. One of them was so graphic they had to take it off. It was X-rated. Okay? But the key, according to European Journal, is to be open and frank and bold. We have two gentlemen here who, in the United States, in Denver, are in the process of launching